Hi, Ben Johnson here to record this week's High Tech Friday. This week we're going to take a look at some tips and tricks with giving a test using Google Forms. So if you're not already signed into your Google Drive, go ahead and get signed in, and you're going to make a Google form. We're specifically going to look at a few things: how to password protect your form, how to use the new form recycler, and then finally some of the new features within Flubaroo. So go ahead and start by opening your Google Drive. You'll go to New, More, Google Forms. The new Google Forms are working with add-ons. If you would like to use the old Google Forms, though, you can hit the running man. It will take you back to the old Google Forms. Right off the bat, I want to show you how to add the new form recycler question. So you'll go to add-ons, and you can see that I've already got it installed, but you can go to get add-ons, and you're simply going to type recycler, and this is going to allow you to use questions from previous quizzes. And you'll want to install that, give the add-on permission to access your Google Drive, that sort of thing. Once you've done that, you'll see it here in your menu. All right, you can decide which of these boxes to check. I would require that they sign in through your district's login, just for security purposes, but up to you. If it's a low stakes test, not necessary. Go ahead and give your form a name, something that you'll be able to recognize later so that you can reuse the questions from this test. Whenever I give a test, I'll always ask for the student's name. And of course, that's going to be a text question, and you want to require that. It's also helpful to ask for their email address, so I'll add another text item, and you might say full email address because you'll use this to then send them their score. And you can actually put an example here if you think that would be helpful for them to see. Again, make that required. You might also include period, and you can include whatever other demographics you need to include. By including period, it may make entering these scores into your gradebook go a bit faster, because you'll be able to sort them by period. Okay, so to password protect this, you're going to add one more item, text, and you can just call it password. And then here you'll go to advanced settings, you'll use data validation, and you'll say contain, text contains, and then whatever the password is going to be, which is case sensitive, so in our case I'll make it frog. The custom error text, you have to type something here, or else it will actually tell them what the password is. So make sure that you include something there, and then you need to require that question so that they can't just skip it. Now, after that, you need to add a page break. So add item, and I'll just say questions. And it's after this page break that you'll have all of your questions. They won't be able to get to this page until they've typed the correct password. And so then you would just add your questions here. Flubaroo can grade most of the question types automatically. Some of them, like paragraph, you'll need to score by hand, which Flubaroo has an option to do that now. I'll just ask who was the first president. And then down here, of course, you would type in all your distractors along with the correct answer. And then I typically require those questions so that a student can't accidentally skip it. Now, so you know how to do the password. I want to show you the form recycler, so I'll go to add-ons, and I'll go to form recycler, form recycle questions, and it's going to show you all of your previous tests. And so if you had a quiz here, you could just select that quiz, and it will show you all the questions from that quiz. So this is a really nice add-on that my teachers have been asking for quite some time. And so I'll just go ahead and reuse that question and insert it, but you could check as many as you want, and you could continue to use that add-on for all of the questions. So Assuming that you've made little unit tests for all of the units, it should be very, very quick to make the final exam using the form recycler. All right, so now you know how to do those things. How do you deploy it? So this is where you would just go to your Google Classroom, and this is a relatively new feature in Classroom from the beginning of the year, and then you would just go into your class and then simply hit the plus sign, add an assignment, type the name of the test, and then come down here to your Google Drive. Simply search for that test, the form, not the responses. And now students will be able to access and take that test right from your Google Classroom. So that's really the fastest way to get there. Now, you can always view the live form, and you could always copy and paste that address into an email, into your Google Classroom if you needed to. Or you could paste it into Bitly and make a shorter URL, or you could use the Google URL shortener. It just doesn't make it as short as I'd like, so I still use Bitly if I want a very short address. Okay, now it's important as the teacher that you go ahead and take this because you're going to make the answer key for Flubaroo. As the teacher, when you take it, make sure that you type teacher in that name so that it's easy for you to recognize the correct row. And then you would just simply fill out the questions. Notice if I type the wrong password here, it's going to tell me that it's the wrong password, and I shouldn't be able to continue until I type the correct password, which, by the way, you can change that password between classes if necessary. And then remember, as the teacher here, I answer all these questions correct and submit that. All right, so back to the form itself. In addition to viewing the live form, you can also view the responses. And this is the answer key that I just created. And so just to show you Flubaroo now, to automatically grade this, you'll go to add-ons. And I've got Flubaroo along with a lot of other nice add-ons in Google Sheets, so I'll just get add-ons. Flubaroo is very popular, and it will frequently just show up here as one of the first choices for your teachers so that they can add it quickly. They'll just install it, give it permission to access the Google Drive, that sort of thing. Mine is done, so I'll just close that. Each time you give a new quiz and you want to use Flubaroo, you have to enable it on that spreadsheet. So you go to add-ons, enable Flubaroo, and now it's ready to go. If I don't want to have to manually run Flubaroo each time a class finishes with it, which I could do right now just by going to add-ons, Flubaroo, grade assignment, I can actually go ahead and come here to advanced and enable the auto grade. And once I've enabled the auto grade, now I just have to set up some options. Flubaroo does a really nice job guessing which of these names, full email address, period, which of those identifies as students and which ones don't. It thinks my password is a question, and it's not, so I'll just say identify as student. And then these, who was the first president, these are questions that require normal grading, and I can make them worth more points if I'd like to. Right? So I set that up, I hit continue. And then in the next step, I just simply need to tell Flubaroo where the correct answers are located, and it will show me all of the rows that have been submitted. In this case, it's the only row, it's the first row, and I continue. And that's how Flubaroo knows to grade the test. Now I can choose how to give it back to the student. It guessed the email address, so it matched that up automatically. I can share via email, Google Drive, or both. I'll do both. I can include a list of questions and scores, or not. If it's a high stakes test, they'll just get the score. And then I can include an answer key if I want, and then a message for the student. Now I can hit continue. At this point, it's ready, it's set up, it's ready to go. So once you have a student go into your class and take the quiz, it's automatically going to go into the spreadsheet, automatically be scored, the results given to the student. So I'll just say fake student here. I'll go ahead and enter my email address just so that I can verify that it's all working the way I want it to work. Notice if I type the wrong password, it won't accept that, and so then I can type the correct password, go to the next screen, and I'll get one of these right, one of them wrong, submit that, and then all of the students could take that quiz using that technique. Now if I go back to the spreadsheet, you can see the results are already there. Flubaroo already made this new worksheet called grades, and it scored that grade, and because it was below 70%, it marked that as red. And then as my other students take the test, they'll be scored and added to this sheet. Now if I go back to my Google Drive, within my Google Drive, let's refresh this here. It's going to make a folder called Flubaroo, and all of the classes that I'm in, it's going to make a folder for each of those quizzes, and since that was a US history test, I can go ahead and open that up. Okay, and then this is what the student gets in their Google Drive. Basically a copy of their test with the correct answer, which you may or may not want to do. And then you also get that same email if you check that box. So just a Flubaroo, just a really nice tool for teachers to get their tests graded automatically. And there are some other nice options that you might look at within Flubaroo. I'll disable the auto grade. Just keep in mind that some of the other things that you can do in Flubaroo are under the advanced settings here, and so you can set up for extra credit. Remember now with Flubaroo, the checkbox questions allow partial credit. You can have extra credit. You can allow more than one answer by putting a percent or between the multiple answers. You can make answers case sensitive by doing %CS in front of the word that needs to be capitalized. So some really nice new features in Flubaroo. Check those out. Thanks for watching this week's High Tech Friday.